What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Sector for Nerds. I'm Ryan Brower, and today I'm here to give you guys my list for the top 5 Clone Wars episodes from Season 2. Before I begin this video, make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, like us on Facebook because it is much appreciated. And also, granted, there will be Season 2 Clone Wars spoilers in this episode, but I think you can figure that out. Here we go, people! Starting us off at number 5, we have Weapons Factory. Why? Because it's Geonosis. That's why. Because of Luminara and Barisafi being together for the first time since the Micro Series. That's why. And if you haven't seen the Clone Wars Micro Series yet, check it out because it's awesome and I highly recommend it. But in this particular episode, we have Luminara and Barriss reinforcing Anakin and Ahsoka on Geonosis, trying to take out Poggle the Lesser's droid factories, trying to put an end to this conflict on Geonosis once and for all. And basically how this episode goes, you got Anakin and Luminara laying out the groundwork, going out there, taking out the droid armies. Then you got Ahsoka and Barriss climbing through the catacombs, well, not climbing, but working their way through the catacombs, getting to that reactor and trying to blow it up so that way they end these droid factories once and for all. But it doesn't all go as planned because Ahsoka and Barriss get caught in a trap, the Geonosians steal their bombs, and well, the Separatists have these new things called the super tanks, which are so freaking dope. The missile launchers are incredible, they're practically invincible, but what they can't count for is falling off a bridge because, yeah, then they just end up falling to their death and they blow up. So there is a way to defeat them. But then Ahsoka and Barriss have to destroy the factory with the tank that was sent to attack them because the Geonosians stole their bombs. So they sacrifice themselves, saving the clones and the Jedi and saving Geonosis. Eventually, then, towards the end of the episode, they end up finding them. They, rescue them. But it's one of those moments where Anakin, had to almost, he couldn't come to the realization that I may lose my apprentice here. He wasn't willing to accept that. And Luminara tells him, I'm prepared to let my student go. Can you say the same? And unfortunately, he couldn't. I love the Ahsoka Barriss friendship because that is something like, it starts out here and it actually plays into an episode that happens like down the road in Season 2 as well during this arc. But it also sets up some stuff that happens later on in the Clone Wars, which I will not spoil in case you haven't seen it. At number 4, we have Voyage of Temptation. Why? Because Obi-Wan and Satine are a very cute couple, and I think that's a good enough reason for why, because this episode was clearly centered around those two. They were bickering back and forth, and then it's all like, oh, I love you and everything, kind of how most of these things go, right? But yeah, so we find out in this episode that someone had put assassin probes on the ship that they're taking to Coruscant, but we gotta find out who that is, right? So we interrogate all the senators, and we find out that none other than, Satine's own senator from Mandalore in Tal Merrick was the traitor. He takes Satine hostage, Obi-Wan has to go and save him, super battle droids bombard the ship, but luckily Anakin's there to take care of all that. The moment at the end was so good with, Satine basically telling Obi-Wan, I love you and everything, and then Obi-Wan saying how, if had you had asked me to before, I would have left the Jedi Order, kind of showing that, Obi-Wan, he kind of does have that vulnerable side to him, and he does have, as it is forbidden for Jedi to have attachments, clearly he, had feelings for Satine. But the icing on the cake for this episode was the moment at the end where, they're about to essentially kill Tal Merrick, and Merrick's ripping on both Obi-Wan and Satine, saying, like, neither of you got the guts to do it and stuff, and he's like, which one of you is gonna kill me and, brand yourself as a cold-blooded killer? Well, who said it had to be one of those two when we already had a cold-blooded killer on the ship, a la Anakin Skywalker? And his excuse for it was brilliant.
Anakin. What? He was gonna blow up the ship.
At number 3, we have the Zillo Beast Strikes Back. Why? Because this is basically like a Godzilla movie. That's why. It's a Godzilla movie in 22 minutes. The previous episode before they capture Godzilla, which, by the way, the first episode to that arc was really good. They capture him in that episode. In this episode, they try to examine him, do whatever. Godzilla escapes. Godzilla wreaks havoc. Then the government has to step in, or in this case, the Republic, have to destroy Godzilla. And then afterward, it's like, oh no, what have we done? In all seriousness, though, this was a really good episode, and to see that moment at the end where the Zillo Beast dies is very sad, and then the line that Anakin says, it's a tragedy that the Zillo Beast paid with its life for our mistakes, which I thought was a really cool line because, yeah, it's basically kind of their fault that the Zillo Beast died, even though it is kind of more like Palpatine's fault because he was the one who made the call, and then afterward, he wanted the Doctor to clone the Beast. I see what you're getting at, Palpatine. At number 2, we have Grievous intrigue. Why? Because of Obi-Wan versus Grievous. That's why. Because seeing Grievous on getting to have a lightsaber battle with Obi-Wan using all 4 of his lightsabers was pretty awesome. And the fight, even at the beginning of the episode with Koth, and the whole thing with, you know, Grievous sending that transmission saying, I only live to see you die, was such a amazing moment. Getting to see A.D. Gullia in this episode was very cool because I believe this episode was her debut in the series. Their mission, obviously, Obi-Wan was going to distract Grievous on his ship while Anakin and Gullia go to Grievous's ship and save Koth. Now, fortunately for Anakin, he did have the help because Grievous, I think, just expected Anakin to go in by himself, but little did he expect that he'd have help from Gullia, because if you watch that fight with all the commando droids, she practically kills all of them with, I think, the exception of like 1 or 2 of them. So yeah, poor Grievous did not anticipate that one at all. Getting to see Cody punch Grievous in the face and then Grievous gets all pissed off and throws him everywhere was absolutely hilarious. The fight sequence on the bridge is also very cool. There was a lot of fighting in this episode, and that's one of the reasons why I like it so much. At the end of the episode, they save Master Koth, and as Anakin says, at least we all live to fight another day. At number 1, we have Bounty Hunters.
Bounty hunters? We don't need that scum.
I mean, I could practically give a million reasons why this episode is so good, but just, I mean, come on, everything from Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, to the 4 bounty hunters that we're introduced to. My goodness, let's talk about Embow. Embow is absolutely fantastic, voiced by Dave Filoni, which I didn't find out until like a year ago. I mean, you look at it, this episode had everything. It had Jedi, it had bounty hunters, it had 2 Rancors at the beginning of the episode, and it had pirates, including Hondo Ohnaka, which was fantastic because I freaking love Hondo and he's one of my favorite characters in the Clone Wars. Every episode that Hondo's in is just a freaking masterpiece. Like, come on, seriously, what's not to like about Hondo? So the whole plot of this episode is Hondo is trying to steal the crop from the farmers and stuff on Felucia, but, you know, the Jedi aren't going to allow it to happen, so they kind of help train the villagers and stuff, so that way the bounty hunters don't have to defend it by themselves. But then the Jedi are like, well, we can't stay because otherwise the Separatists are going to show up looking for us, but they end up staying anyway, so cool. The final 10 minutes of this was fantastic because it was all action and getting to see the bounty hunters, getting to see Embow do his thing, Zugi in her action using the EE-3, which is Boba Fett's gun. Anakin gets to fight Hondo, and I give Hondo credit. He held his own against the Chosen One. And the final moments of that fight, too, was amazing because, you know, obviously Anakin, for once Anakin had the high ground. That is a statement that may only be said once ever. I never thought those words would come out of my mouth, but Anakin had the high ground against Hondo. And then Hondo's sitting there like, Skywalker, let me call off my men. And he gets up and he's like, hi, I tricked you. Pushed him towards the tank. Fortunately, the tank missed. And then Hondo has the brilliant line,
This effort is no longer profitable!
So that is my list for the top 5 episodes of the Clone Wars Season 2. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite episodes from the Clone Wars Season 2 are. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, like the Sector for Nerds page on Facebook, and I will see you guys next time.